Migrant farm workers as a group are too often exploited and abused. We learn of one local attorney that is leading the way to bring justice for migrant farm workers. And we discover a real catch for Caribbean seafood. It's all here on the next Latino Motion. Join us.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation, and Stockton University. This edition of Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is brought to you by the HD Studios at the campus of Stockton University. Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas. Welcome to Latino Motion, a weekly interview show highlighting issues impacting New Jersey's Latino community while advancing understanding of Latino cultural heritage and contributions to our society. And here is your host, Bert Lopez.
Buenos dias and welcome to Latino Motion. Farm workers are critical for our economy, but too often are exploited and abused. My next guest is an attorney that is committed to fighting for justice for farm workers and against the exploitation of people living in poverty. Evelise Crespo Esquire is with the Migrant Farm Worker Project, part of the South Jersey Legal Services Incorporated. Evelise, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me, Bert.
So it's the Migrant Farm Worker Project. What exactly is that?
The Migrant Farm Worker Project is a component of South Jersey Legal Services, and what we do is we provide free legal services to migrant farm workers in the state of New Jersey.
At the beginning, we mentioned about the abuse and exploitation that takes place of farm workers. First of all, why is this occurring?
Well, I think there's two reasons why this may be happening or this is happening. A lot of farm workers who come here, one of the main reasons is they don't speak English. The second reason is because oftentimes they're living in employer-provided housing, which is usually in rural areas, and so they're isolated. They don't have any transportation, they usually don't have any cell phones, and so when you couple that with the lack of being able to understand and speak the language here, it makes it really difficult for them to figure out what their rights are and to advocate for themselves.
What are some of the abuses that you're seeing?
A lot of the abuses that I'm seeing deal with wage theft, so oftentimes an employer will not pay the employee right out, or they'll say, because I paid for you to come from Mexico, I'm going to deduct it from your wages. So you have to work for me until you pay off this debt. And so the worker will often work for free until that debt is paid off. Other abuses that I see is discrimination, and that it goes hand in hand. Oftentimes American workers are discriminated against in favor of hiring undocumented workers, because employers know that they can treat undocumented workers poorly, or they could pay them less than what they are supposed to under the law. I also see retaliation, so workers that complain about these practices will get fired or get immigration called on them.
Obviously, there are a lot of farm workers in South Jersey. In fact, my father happened to come here to work in Vineland, New Jersey as a migrant farm worker back in the 60s. And that's how we ended up here. But certainly there's a lot of good employers, people who really look up to and take care, rather, of their employees. But there are those who do take advantage. What are some of the laws that help protect migrant farm workers?
Oh, okay. Well, you're right. There are definitely some good employers out there that really, follow the law. And there are a lot of laws that are put in place to protect farm workers. They're not exempt from a lot of the federal laws that you know, so they're still protected under the Fair Labor Standards Act, which means that the employer is supposed to pay them either the minimum wage, or in the case of workers that come here on work visas, the adverse wage rate, which is higher than the minimum wage in New Jersey. They're also protected by the Migrant Seasonal Protection Act, which is a federal act that protects the working and living conditions of migrant workers, and that's a federal law, so that's that's in every single state. And New Jersey, as the Garden State, has also enacted protections that are covered under state statute and, in some cases, the Constitution. which protects the farm workers and their right to organize.
The living conditions is something that I've seen abuses on, and certainly there are communities who have taken a stand against those kind of living conditions. Have they significantly improved over time?
Well, it really just depends on the employer. I've been to places that are great and the workers are very happy. I've also gone on outreach to places that I don't think anybody should ever live in. So it really just depends. It's a case-by-case basis.
So what is your organization, your project rather, a Migrant Farm Worker Project? How do they go out and advocate for these farm workers, and how do you get a hold of them?
So what we do is we go directly to the labor camps. So if they're coming in with visas from another country, the employer has to report exactly where the workers are. And so myself and other workers from my nonprofit will go and inspect or talk to the workers at the labor camp to provide them information on their rights. And there's a state law that allows us to actually do that. So an employer is prohibited from preventing us from going onto the land to talk to them.
What kind of services do you provide besides the fact that you're protecting them and advocating for them against abuses by the employer? Are there other services you also provide?
There are other services. So South Jersey Legal Services as a whole provides a variety of different services, and the Migrant Farm Worker Project, we mirror those services. So if an employer has problems with, if an employee has problems with landlord-tenant issues, if they've applied for some type of government assistance and been denied, we have worked on labor trafficking cases. So in those instances, we provide sort of an avenue for someone who's been trafficked in the state of New Jersey to get some immigration relief.
Tell me a little bit about the labor trafficking. How does that happen?
Well, labor trafficking is defined as when services or labor is coerced. So if someone is coerced into working, if someone is recruited using fraud or coercion, if someone is harbored using fraud or coercion. So those are the trigger words. So basically what happens is, in the case of labor trafficking specifically, there's this thing called debt bondage, which I spoke a little bit about earlier, which is where an employer will say, oh, I'll pay for you to come from this country. But in order for you to pay off that debt, you're going to work for me now for free. And I've also seen instances where an employer will have the employee sign a work contract saying, you're to work for me for life. In order for you to break this contract, you have to buy yourself out for $5,000.
So those certainly were extreme cases, and we're going to continue this discussion. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
As the state's premier Hispanic gathering, this annual summit attracts more than 550 participants, including top government, business, labor, community, and professional leaders for a day filled with renowned speakers, important workshops, symposium, cultural celebration, and exciting entertainment at the gala. Our goal is providing scholarships to our students in higher education. This fall semester, 5 freshmen entering Rowan University will receive a $1,000 scholarship towards tuition. This all-day summit also provides different organizations, agencies, and companies access to the Hispanic market, branding, and excellent networking. It is a great opportunity to continue to be heard and understood by government representatives, CEOs of corporations, and nonprofits. We strive for a better future for our children and grandchildren, so we can continue to grow as a community.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
Welcome back to Latino Motion. We continue our discussion with Evelise Crespo, Esquire, about the Migrant Farm Worker Project. And Evelise, we were talking about the trafficking issue, and the other exploitation that did take place. But certainly the need for farm workers is still very critical for our economy. And here in South Jersey, where we have a lot of farms, certainly very necessary, isn't it?
Absolutely. I read somewhere that there's over 700,000 acres of farmland in New Jersey.
I also read a report from the Wall Street Journal. It's a little dated, it's from 2006, where it indicated that 20% of the crops were not harvested because there weren't enough labor to collect the crops. So certainly we still need workers to take care of the crops as well.
In response to the demand for farm workers, the federal government has created a program called the H-2A program, where farmers, if they have a need for workers, they can petition to bring workers in from other countries to bring them here to harvest. And I believe this year there was a number of, I believe 400 workers came from Mexico.
That's just for New Jersey.
That's just for New Jersey.
And obviously there's other states with even more acreage farming. And so these workers are very critical, obviously for the economy, and they need to be taken care of, just like all of us who work, and just like my dad did, who work the farms for a living. Let's talk a little bit about the history here, just somewhat. I know that my father came over back in the 60s, and there were a couple of programs in place back then, weren't there?
Yeah, there was the Bracero project that offered an avenue for workers to come in from Mexico and other countries. Definitely there was the seasonal, I believe, Worker Act, I believe that's what it's called, and that offered an avenue for workers to come and work in the U.S. And from that time, from the 1960s to the 1980s, there was a large population of Puerto Rican workers that came in to New Jersey specifically to do work. Up until recently, up until maybe 20 years ago, it stopped in the 1980s, and then they started bringing in workers from Mexico, Guatemala, and now I'm starting to see a large population of Puerto Rican workers again, and Haitian workers as well.
Certainly there is a great need, and it continues to be. We're not going to see the need for farm workers to go away, but we do see that less and less Americans are willing to do that kind of work, and there's a need to bring folks from other countries. There has been and continue to be some worker comps kind of situations. I know when Cesar Chavez was involved in organizing the farm workers in California, the biggest issue was pesticides and the health conditions of those farm workers. What do you do in those type of situations?
Well, in situations like that, if the worker is not gravely injured and hasn't had to go to any medical care, you can file a complaint with OSHA, so the Worker Occupational Protection Agency, through the Department of Labor, and they'll go and investigate. But if the worker is injured, then it becomes a workers' comp case, a workers' compensation case, which we try to refer to the private bar as much as possible, as there are private attorneys who will take those cases.
Let's talk about the various locations. You mentioned the vast acreage that we have here in South Jersey for farms, and your offices are located throughout South Jersey. Tell me about those locations.
We are in 9 counties. I believe we are in Camden, we are in Burlington, we are in Atlantic, Cumberland, Cape May, Burlington, Monmouth.
You're all of South Jersey, the outreach to all these farms throughout South Jersey, which is incredible.
Yes, actually, Migrant specifically, although it's not South Jersey Legal Services, Migrant covers the entire state.
That's a lot of footwork, and certainly a great job in terms of advocating for those farm workers. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other work that South Jersey Legal Services does for the community. What are some of the cases that you handle besides the project for farm workers?
Okay, well, South Jersey Legal Services as a whole, they'll take a lot of different types of cases. Some of them are landlord-tenant. They assist people who've been denied or had government benefits terminated, such as TANF or other welfare benefits. They also do consumer fraud. South Jersey Legal Services also has a low-income taxpayer project where they assist people who are in trouble with the IRS.
You mentioned the benefits, so SSI, you get denied for SSI and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you get denied for SSI, TANF, other welfare benefits that are provided by the government.
I do recall when I was with the Hispanic Alliance that we sued the city of Edna for discrimination, and it was a redevelopment project that was only taking place where 40% Latino community was living. We settled that case, but it was enough to do away with that project. So certainly the great work that South Jersey Legal Services does for the community is really advocating for a lot of the minority community.
Absolutely, that's one of the reasons why I went to work for them. When I grew up in Cramer Hill and Camden, they sued when they were trying to do the Cherokee project there. So even as a kid, I thought, wow, that's really great. They're really helping our community, and I'm really fortunate to have an opportunity to work for them now.
Evelise, thank you so much. And in closing, I just want to read something to you. This is Sandra Semkins, a distinguished clinical professor of Rutgers Law School, said this about you. Ivy possesses a passion for social justice issues and is a admired leader at the law school on the pro bono issues. She is not afraid to speak truth to power, and we certainly see that today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing those kind words.
And stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Latino Motion.
Latino Motion with Bert Lopez is presented by Latino Motion Public Affairs Media, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. Join us online at www.latinomotion.tv. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We encourage your comments and contributions for show topics.
When you're in the mood for a real catch, you might want to treat your taste buds to Caribbean food. The Caribbean Clam Bar in Egg Harbor Township just opened up recently, and joining me to talk about this specialty that is right here in South Jersey is Adolfo Sanchez. Adolfo, welcome to Latino Motion.
Thank you for having me, Bert.
So you are the manager of the Caribbean Clam Bar, and it's a seafood restaurant, correct? Tell me a little bit about it.
It is a seafood restaurant, but it's quite a different concept. It's not another restaurant that just opened in South Jersey. It's different because the concept of the restaurant that my boss tried to specialize the restaurant on, and it will be like more Caribbean Thai food. When I say Caribbean Thai food, it's not just about picking up food from there and bring it over here, you know what I mean?
So you bring a little bit of that flavor from the Caribbean. Now, the Caribbean is a lot of different places in the Caribbean, but I understand the specialty is Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and St. Thomas. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. We are putting much of the Caribbean flavor into one solid menu. When I talk about the condiments and the spiciness that we use for flavor of the Caribbean food, it's not talking about that the food is going to be spicy or things like that. It's just like we adding the Caribbean jerk into the food, so the food is more flavor and have like that little touch of the Caribbean.
So it's not the Cajun hot spicy type food.
No, it's not that. It's not Cajun. We are not dealing with any other kind of condiments that usually mostly of the restaurants use here in South Jersey. We are dealing more with the Caribbean jerk type of season that is not that spicy. Of course, you're going to have spicy dishes because you know everybody's different, so everybody have different likes. We open for different tastes of the customers, you know what I mean?
And you know, just being from the Caribbean myself, born in Puerto Rico, and when I visited Puerto Rico, one of my favorite things is there in Mayagüez by the ocean is enjoying some of that rich Caribbean food that's served in Puerto Rico, and this is what you're striving for.
Yes, basically that's the concept of the restaurant. My boss used to travel a lot. He's a travel, how can I call it, a travel animal. He's been in the Caribbean many times. So he's bringing that concept here in South Jersey. So he's like, you guys doesn't need to go out there and travel and spending all this money, because now I want to bring this business in here so it can be near to you. And the prices are really accessible for anybody. It's a familiar dine-in restaurant, so you can find since pizzas, you can have roll bar.
That means if I bring my family and they don't, my kids don't like seafood, they could have chicken nuggets, right?
Chicken nuggets, chicken wings.
Right.
Especially now that it's football season, we are promoting these 2 large pizzas with the chicken wings on their Caribbean jerk toast. Is really good. You gotta come and try it because the food is really awesome. Now,
are you open for lunch?
We open for lunch. We open at 11 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, we open from 11 to 11. Friday and Saturday, we open 11 to midnight.
So it's right here in South Jersey, a real treat, a specialty, because nowhere in South Jersey locally do we see someone specializing in Caribbean seafood, but it's now available here in Egg Harbor Township, which is a great thing.
Yes, it's located in the East Bay Crab and Grill, used to be. I can say that because a lot of people call and the restaurant and I say, where you guys are located? So it don't matter how far I go with them, they don't know. So I always, as soon as I mention, it is the same place at East Bay Crab and Grill used to be. So they, oh, I got it, I know what it is. So they come over really fast, and then, you know what I mean?
One of the things that I know you bring to the table is you, as server yourself, and you talk to the customers, and you're always looking for the input from the customer to see what they like, and you know, if there's a dish from the Caribbean that they want to the restaurant to carry, you're open to that as well.
Yes, I started there as a server, and then I get promoted by my boss because he saw my job and everything. So he's like, I need you somewhere else more. So being back and in front of the kitchen and the restaurant, and then serving people, dealing with customers. So that's better for me as a manager, because now I can see what people really like and what they're looking for. So being with this interaction, I can be, telling my boss, no, we have to make this adjustment in the kitchen because people is saying this, people is saying that. So now,
it's always good to listen to the customer.
Exactly.
I look forward to visiting the restaurant. Thank you for sharing this information with our audience, and thank you for joining us at home once again here on Latino Motion.
Thank you.
Choose quality, value, distinction. Choose Stockton.
Funding for Latino Motion is provided by Atlanticare, healthcare you can believe in. Atlantic City Electric, energy for a changing world. And South Jersey Gas.